Welcome, Michael Wickerson here, and I was very much looking forward to this video in the surface freeform section. And probably the most significant person that I saw online about 3 years ago that sparked my interest in Grasshopper was Daniel Kristev, and specifically this script, which he has in his early series. He hasn't recently made videos, but I definitely have honored to work with him on a plugin, the Dominion, which was a conic solver for Rhino Grasshopper, if you're interested. But the reason I put this out there is as we look at this surface and we start to have a little finesse with it as you jump, there's so many means of jumping in here and creating an incredible tool, let alone graph mappers for multiple points, for having incredible options when it comes to creating a surface. He uses a lot of math, and he actually has a really nice nested tool, not unlike what he does grid-wise or graphically in getting the image sampler to work perfect. And my main point is that comparing his surfaces to the 4-point surface generator, the boundary surfaces, the lofts, the extrusions, the pipes, the variable pipes, the sweeps, sweep 2, rail revolution, extrude surface, extrude linear, all of these incredible tools, including the pitfall of patch in Grasshopper, he's able to make these incredible things. And then, of course, I've just put to use some planes intersecting these things. Also within the freeform, I think I actually threw in some primitives over here, so we'll do two at once. The primitives themselves stay pretty true to planes through surfaces, and then you've got the basic box, center box generator, cone, cylinder, quad sphere, and sphere. So I'm not going to spend too much time on these two scripts. I'll wrap them both into this. But I really wanted to slow down and appreciate what's happening within Daniel Kristev's script here. And I do provide it. I created it from the tutorial that he had used, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing it with the world. I know his is open source. But what a wonderful way to construct points by a simple tool of an amplification of sine. And you don't have to stay in here and stay with the integer values. You can do any multiplication you want. There's a little grafting on the x, so we can pull this out in an xy direction. But what he ends up doing is he creates this surface, finding the center, scaling it, evaluating the surfaces of those points at all these wonderful points he chooses to bring in as an MD slider, as long as your surface is reparametized. I think that's just ingenious. And then really the funkiness of finding the distance between that to be the t parameter within this equation sparked me wanting to work with him in calculus and limits and linear algebra. And I hope we continue on the Dominion as to what we do. So if you can get to this point, that's fine. But this little bit of do-si-doing here with the dimensions of the UV and a little bit of division and multiplication and then a integer result allows you to keep this running right to the edges and not having this little thing tail off and kind of make the geometry funky on one side. It's that type of stuff that Daniel does that just blows me away, because I would be frustrated with it, but I wouldn't sit and figure out the math to solve that. So really beautiful scripts. And then he gets into the fact that he's shown me how to use mass multiplication, mass addition well, and he has a great series for that for multiple surfaces. He moves them, and then, of course, generates his points from them again. And he not only generates surface from points, he has surface from mesh as a plugin as well. And what a gorgeous surface. If you start to orient this and use this to spark other geometries, nothing really beats it. So hats off to Daniel Kristev. I really throw it out there for more creative work, but an attention to detail, which shows me, and he's demonstrated time and again, that Grasshopper for him is a very visual, exciting realm to explore mathematics, but he can articulate this directly in the Visual Studio through C# programming, and I'm not sure how many years it's going to take me to really be as fluid as he is now, and of course he'll be light years ahead by the time I get there. Anyway, 5 minutes on Daniel Kristev's wonderful surfaces. Consider making your scripts, writing your own surfaces, and being playful with that, and don't get stuck on freeform curves, which can be beautiful, especially if you can control your curves to generate these surfaces from network surfaces and lofts. But the primitives themselves, I mean, they're there as basic primitives for mesh manipulation and such. And that'll push us into subdivisions. I'm going to spend a pretty big section on that. So we'll call this 23 and 24, and we'll go through freeform and primitives. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on scripts with primitives because people usually are accustomed to starting with solids in Grasshopper, and my main teaching push is to get you into the maths and get you into the generations and the equations that are tucked in behind a lot of the scenes as to what you might do. It's a pretty simple script here with a couple of parameters in the expression node, but not something you couldn't have pushed through a graph mapper or something like that. Anyway, I just leave it in there. I think what I do in the end, just get a nice image. I'm going to take it to another bake, do a surface bake on it, and just love it. And take it back over to rendered. What a nice shape. We'll just leave it. And, well, let's throw a nice little bake surface analysis on it, just because you can't go wrong with the environment map. I haven't used it in a little while. And there you go, just to show the complexities and beauty of that, and why NURBS and Rhino is so superior in my mind as to what you actually want to render out. And if you're into metal casting and metal forming, obviously after 30 years of playing around with that, this is pretty nice to start thinking about. Okay, thanks again for watching. Michael Wickerson, Wickerson Studios, working for MGSM and KCAI and a multitude of other online sources. Thank you.